In more and more states, people are voting in favor of decriminalizing drugs. So Oregon made history, becoming the first state to decriminalize small amounts of street drugs, including heroin and cocaine. Voters in Oregon and D.C. also approved a measure that will decriminalize magic mushrooms and other psychedelic drugs. So meantime, a number of states approved measures legalizing marijuana for adults, including Arizona, New Jersey, South Dakota, and Montana. And medical marijuana was approved by voters in Mississippi. Before we discuss, I just want to clarify to our viewers, because I saw some of you writing in, what's the difference between decriminalizing drugs and legalizing drugs? So when you legalize the drugs, you actually get rid of those legal prohibitions so people can use them either recreationally or medicinally, legally. Now, decriminalizing cannabis or street drugs is actually saying that it's still illegal. You cannot use those substances, but if you were to be caught with them under a certain amount, you will therefore not be prosecuted by the courts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it'll probably just be a fine, almost like drinking a beer.
I thought I saw somewhere like $100, and if you can't pay that fine, you could make it up in rehab or some kind of.
Do you think this is a right step in the right direction?
I do. And I'll tell you why, Jeff. Quite frankly, the war on drugs has not only not worked, I feel like it set our country back. I feel like we are no further along than we were. People will always have a need or a want to use illicit drugs. What we need to do is, instead of throwing them in jail, we need to figure out another path. This is one we have not tried yet. Are there possible drawbacks? Of course. But what are we going to do? Keep throwing heroin addicts in jail and people with $100 of weed on them in jail for 10 years, and now they come out and they have no future? Like, what are we doing?
You make a good point out. We talked earlier about like prescription drugs.
Right.
It's basically the same kind of mix-up, right?
Your body does not know what you're taking.
Crack and meth the same as marijuana? So I get the fight for the marijuana, like decriminalize that. But is meth, in 20 years, 50 years, are we going to think meth is just like a weed street drug? I don't think so. I think it does a lot more harm than marijuana, obviously.
I would like to see other consequences then, and those consequences can be treatment. I'm tired of seeing families being destroyed. I'm tired, and Tori, jump in, put a button on this. I'm tired of seeing kids lose their mom and dad to substances when in reality those people need treatment, not to be caged behind bars.
I disagree, and I might be in the minority. I'm all for weed and for black and brown people to be let out of jail for small amounts of weed. However, when heroin, which is way more addictive, it loses the deterrent of making it a jail or a prison time offense, I find that that's an opening or a door to someone who might want to try it, and the first time you try heroin, you're addicted.
Whether people wanted to try it or not, Sam, they were given it by their medical profession. When you start talking about oxycodone and all that kind of stuff that was handed out by the bucketful to this entire country, that's why we have a heroin resurgence now, because they took it back and the only replacement is heroin. So this country has a lot to attest for.